What's up, everyone? I'm rebuilding my Rustler today after I broke it in the last live stream. The transmission is completely shot. So I've already put the grub screw back on the pinion gear. That was all busted and it was really hard to get off. I didn't want to bore you guys with that, but it's back on. I put some Loctite on it again. So now I need to take this rear end off. I'm gonna try to take the drive shaft out just to get some of that tension off of this assembly here. So it'll only be 2-wheel drive after I'm done, but maybe it'll stop braking, which would be a huge win. And I'm also gonna try to take this assembly apart here and look at the diffs because I'm pretty sure those are shot as well, since whenever I make a turn at high speeds, that's when I strip the spur gear. Let's get into it. Be sure to chat any tips you have. I'm really not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, if you can hear that sound, that's because there's sand in those threads. All I'm doing now is pulling out the screws that hold this whole rear assembly on. It's pretty funny once it comes off how all of these parts are just in one whole unit that you can remove. Okay, so that's all for the top. I think there's only 4 screws actually holding that on. These screws on the bottom are a little tricky. They've been ground against the road so many times, and I had to put new holes in them just to get them out the last time. Uh, okay, I hope all those screws are the exact same thing because I just put them all in the same spot on the table. Put that Allen key back so I don't lose it. Let's flip this back over before I take it apart. I think this capacitor is done. It looks like the negative isn't even making contact anymore. It's just been crushed too many times from the truck landing on the body and smashing it in. I put that in there for the servo to hopefully make it faster, and it doesn't seem to do anything. $8 down the drain, I guess. All right. If I removed all the screws, this rear end should pop off. It is in there quite tight. There we go. Oh, you can see all the metal sparkles from the spur gear that stripped. Well, not stripped, but got chewed through. There was a little bug in there. So there's the slipper clutch assembly. I'm just gonna leave that spur gear on there because I think it's still completely fine. I'm gonna grab a vacuum real quick and vacuum all the metal flakes out of here because I don't want them getting everywhere. All right, now for the exciting part. I've never taken a differential apart before, so this will be interesting. I'm live streaming on my phone, so I can't really look this up. It's not very big. I kind of expected a bigger housing, but I don't know what, really don't know much about differentials. Does that lock nut look tight enough? I think it does. Set that off to the side. What is the first step here? There's a lot of screws for a lot of different things. I'm guessing I need to remove these two screws first. Nope, if I had the right size Allen key. Almost lost that screw. It doesn't help that this table has so many holes. Okay. I don't know what those screws were for, but this is coming up now. I'm going to take these two screws off as well. It's all gunked up with dirt. I'm gonna readjust my mic. It keeps shifting. Okay, that's better. That didn't seem to do anything either. Oh, wait. I really don't know what that is. I mean, it would seem like just doing this that the diffs are working. All right, I see a couple more screws that might get me inside. These ones are trickier to get to. Okay, actually, since those are so hard to get to, I'm gonna go look it up on another device. I'll be right back. It's not that complicated, I know that. Okay, I'm back. Google, how to replace rear differential in Traxxas Rustler 4x4. Remove the rear skid plate and bumper. I think this is the skid plate. Unscrew the rear bulkhead cover and pull out the old differential unit. Okay. Oh, it says take off the wheels. I don't think that's necessary. It'll be easier if I watch a video. So I'm just going to do that. Okay, so that guy is just taking apart the differential itself, but I want to get inside. It's great that YouTube has all these videos on how to repair your RC car. Otherwise, I would be so lost. Man, it's taking a while to load. Okay. Too far. So this guy's not showing me either. He just has it open, but it looks like he left everything assembled and just pulled off the bumper in the back of the casing. Okay. Let's try to do that. If nothing else, I can rewatch this live stream later and figure out how to put the RC back together in case I forget. That is a long screw. And that should just pull right out. Come on. All right, so the bumpers should come off, but of course there's always more screws hidden. Oh, actually not in this case. It was just wedged in there. So now we've got a bumper slash wheelie bar. Which really hasn't gotten me any further inside, but it should make it a bit easier to take apart. So now I'm going to try to take off the bulkhead, I guess. Ooh, some stuff fell out. There's sand in there. That's pretty dirty. All right, and now the whole bottom should just come off. The A-arms are still holding it on though. So let's take the pins out. Although they are not wanting to come out. I'm gonna have to pull this up. Being careful not to get the grease that's in the differentials everywhere. Come on. All right, so that's all gonna bend out of my way. And now I can actually see inside of the differentials here. It's actually pretty neat. So if I turn that, I should be able to see any stripped gears. But I don't see any, and they are steel, so I don't know how you could blow these. I've heard of it happening before, but that does not seem to be the case here, which is good because a new set of diffs is like 60 bucks. But that does really make me curious as to what the problem is. And I thought some of this was bent because the spur gear was wobbling around, but whatever's bent must be something else, probably the chassis or the motor mount. I'm gonna grab a wet napkin and just wipe that off because there's a lot of sand and metal flakes, and then I can put it back all together and we'll get on with the rebuild. That's cool how it all moves like that. I mean, it has to. Otherwise, it would all bend out of shape. All those moving parts have kept the truck intact after my very harsh landings. Thankfully, I didn't see any sand in the differentials. Doesn't mean it's not there, but I didn't see it, so that shouldn't be causing an issue. Let's put this back together. Bulkhead first. I'm pretty sure that's what this is called. Everything's so crunchy with all that sand. It's probably not the best idea to drive this truck in sand, but it's so fun. It just gets in everything. That is the wrong Allen key. There it is. Gonna get that nice and tight. I just don't want anything wiggling out of place. Okay. But you also have to be careful with that, otherwise, if you crank too hard, you'll strip out the weak plastic threads. Maybe I'll just drive the truck around like this. Much less damaging, I'm sure. Then I need these 2 screws. They'll go right here. It kind of looks like I know what I'm doing. That's a long screw. I wish I had a drill with me. Oh, I already made a mistake. These are in the wrong spot. These are to hold the bumper on. I would have been wondering why the bumper kept falling off. It's great that all of the screws on here are for the most part just 2 sizes, and they all fit the Allen keys included with the truck. When this is over, be sure to check out my past live stream where I actually broke this thing. There's a link to that in the description. There's another bug in there. They're just in the grass and they hop on the truck. All right, let's put in the right screws this time. The short ones, which will be much easier to get in because they're the right ones. This would be a good time to get up and get a snack. All right, got those 2 in. got a video coming out soon that goes in depth on why I think this thing is going to self-destruct and what is going wrong with it exactly. Comes out this Saturday, so make sure you subscribe for that. All right, so the bottom skid plate is back on and secure again. Now I need to attach the bumper. And a lot of people take this off. They say it gets in the way, but personally I like it. If nothing else, it makes a good carry handle. A fun video to do would be to loosen up all of these screws, which would take a while, and then just rip the truck and see what happens. Almost have that bumper back on. That's not going anywhere. Got the rear assembly all back together. Now I guess the only thing I'm gonna do, or that I can do, is pull out the drive shaft like I mentioned in the beginning. I think that's gonna be my best bet. It's possible that the front differentials are done, but as I was driving it, I really didn't notice anything that seemed off about those. So I don't think it's worth taking that apart. I really don't plan on buying diffs anyway. But now I see that the paint has rubbed away. This is rubbed against the tie rod in the front. Although the drive shaft seems straight. I wonder if that has caused any of these issues. Let's put it against the table and see if it's straight. Yeah, it is. It's just that tie rod is such a close fit. Everything in this truck is just so close together. I really think it's kind of a poor design. But then again, it is only a 1/10 scale, so there's not much you can do about that. I'm gonna put this in my spare parts bag. This is almost a brand new one that I spent $10 on. Oh well. So before I put the slipper clutch back in, I'm just gonna take this off. We don't need that anymore. It's weird that the grip screw on here takes a different size Allen key than the one on the motor. Okay. Back in the spare parts bag with this. I'm kind of excited to try this out afterwards and see how it does with two-wheel drive. Let's just check the slipper clutch tightness as well. Should be like all the way tight. Yeah, it's pretty tight. That's a hair too tight. And that's probably correct. I really just need to learn to be more careful on the throttle. Well, this end goes in the diffs to turn it. It is wiggling a little bit, but I think that's normal. And once I put it in here, that should reduce some of that wobble. But with the drive shaft gone, there's also nothing else holding it in place. So who knows? I guess there is that bearing there. It's probably really hard to tell in this view that it wobbles. Although that does seem pretty secure when I wiggle it around. Part of the problem before might have been that the pinion gear was too far forward on the motor, so that caused the grub screw to rub when it shouldn't have. And before I can put that motor in, silly me, I need to reattach the rear end. That's for the bottom. I can tell because it's been marked up. Although I don't think it matters. I'll start with just the top screws loosely screwed in. Then I'll put the motor in, then I'll check the mesh and slowly tighten everything up. Well, it doesn't sound too good when I just roll the truck like this, but nothing has been secured down yet, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Everything might be fine. I'm going to reapply the Loctite to this. I don't think old dry Loctite is going to do anything. My toolkit is on the floor over here next to my workbench. I didn't realize this before, but on the tube it actually says you have to shake it up before using. That is plenty. Sometimes it's tricky not to get that on your hands. I've never had it cause irritation, thankfully. All right, that went into the hole. I definitely saw the motor move there. That might have just fixed the mesh. Come on, tighten. I might have to tighten it by hand a little bit, because with the angle I have that Allen key at, it doesn't want to go straight. The screw, I mean. Okay, that feels tight. The ESC is right in my way. I'm going to check my toolkit and see if I have a shorter one that'll work. Probably this size if I had to guess. Actually, that's too thick. Traxxas uses some really small Allen keys. And I think this one is going to be too small. Yep. All right, well, so much for that. Ah. It's an interesting choice for sure that Traxxas only used one screw to hold the motor in. A very, very high torque motor at that. I think it's all the way in. It's still turning because that hole is stripped out. That's why I needed the Loctite. The motor feels pretty secure. I can see though that this plastic motor mount is flexing. Interesting. All right, the mesh, wouldn't say it's good, but this uses a fixed mesh system. So I'm just gonna tighten those screws down and put it back together. Gonna put on the bottom screws next. The mesh does feel a little bit better than the last time I put it back together. I will say that. Let's check the mesh once more. Oh yeah, still turns. And aha. That pinion gear is perfectly aligned with the spur gear now. Last time, that pinion gear definitely was in the wrong spot. It wasn't lining up and the grub screw was also rubbing against the spur. Now there is enough clearance between that grub screw and the spur gear. For sure. Still sounds bad. Kind of sounds like a wind-up toy. If I wanted a wind-up toy, I would have just paid $20, not $430. The bottom screws are in. Oh, that's weird how the front wheels just free spin now. All right, I'm gonna chuck a battery in here and take it outside, test it live. I'm gonna leave the trans cover and the body off in case there's any smoke so I can stop running it before a fire breaks out. Grab my controller. And you guys are gonna get to come off the tripod now. I'm gonna put the camera on the transmitter. Trying to get it adjusted. There we go. Let's take this outside. Gregory. transmitter on. Let's plug the battery in. And it turns on, that's a good sign. The electronics in this still work fine. If the rest of the truck is a throwaway, at least I know the electronics can be put in something else. Let's give it some throttle. It just disconnected. It just lost drive completely. You can see both the pinion and the spur are turning, but the wheels are, what the heck? Holy cow. The wheels just came off. Whoa. Where did that nut even go? Was that too much power to the rear? Is that why they make these 3S trucks four-wheel drive only? That's crazy. You can see when I turn the other wheel though, that the spur isn't turning at all. Let's turn that truck off. Interesting. I'm gonna look for that nut and throw the other tire on and see if it's gonna do anything. I must have just blown out a diff. I don't get it. I put everything back together properly. It looked fine when I took it apart. It couldn't have gone far. I do have some lock nuts in my spare parts bag. I'm not sure if they're the right size. Let me know if you guys see the nut. I'm sure it's right in front of me. I'm gonna grab the spare parts bag and see if one of the nuts in there will fit. That is definitely unexpected. Okay, this is a 1032. And I returned the others that I bought for a different project. They didn't fit. So if this nut doesn't fit, I'll have to buy another one, I guess. I'll bring the toolkit with me. Hope you guys are having a better day than I am. I need the 7mm hex. Let's see if this will thread on. Too big.